The millionaire saw his ex-wife, pregnant and working as a cleaner. What happened next changed everything. Javier Garza held a solid gold matte blank fountain pen, frozen in the air just 3 millimeters from signing the most profitable contract of his life, when the entire world suddenly stopped spinning. He was sitting at the main table of Little, the most exclusive and elite restaurant in San Pedro Garza Garza, Monterrey. Around him, 3 real estate executives were waiting for his signature to close a deal worth 40 million pesos. Everything was perfect. Javier's dark blue suit was impeccable, custom-tailored, worn without a tie yet radiating the absolute authority of a 32-year-old man who had conquered the city. His short, perfectly trimmed beard. His commanding posture. He was the king of the world. The man who always won. The man who had overcome the greatest humiliation of his life. Or so he thought. His cold, calculating gaze briefly drifted away from the document lying on the white tablecloth. And that was when he saw her. The blow knocked the oxygen out of his lungs. It felt like crashing into a concrete wall at 200 kilometers per hour. About 15 meters away, in the dimmest part of the hall, a woman was wiping a table. The contrast was brutal, almost grotesque. Amid elegant golden decor, marble, and exquisite crystal, the woman wore a bright orange cleaner's uniform, cheap and worn, with a white collar and trim. She did not belong there. But it wasn't the uniform that paralyzed Javier. It was her. Valeria. His ex-wife. The pen slipped from Javier's fingers and hit the glass table with a dry sound, leaving a fat drop of black ink on the million-peso contract. Everything okay, Javier? One of the executives asked, frowning. Javier did not answer. He did not blink. He did not breathe. His dark eyes were locked on the woman across the room. His mind, trained to process numbers and strategies in fractions of a second, collapsed before the irrational image in front of him. 9 months ago, Valeria Mendoza, the woman he had loved with blind devotion, had thrown divorce papers in his face. She told him she was tired of him. That she had found someone better, someone who actually had time for her. She left without taking a single peso, supposedly to live a luxurious romance in Europe with a European heir. Javier spent nearly a year hating her, swallowing the poison of betrayal, drowning his pain in work until he turned into a steel magnet, cold and untouchable. But the woman 15 meters away was not in Paris. She was not wearing jewelry or high fashion. Valeria was frantically scrubbing the wooden surface of a table with a white cloth as if her life depended on removing a sore stain. Her light brown hair, once always styled in perfect waves, was now tied in a messy ponytail. Her pale skin was flushed. Large drops of sweat ran down her forehead and neck. She looked exhausted, pale, with deep purple circles under her eyes. Her gaze was fixed downward, completely broken. Then Valeria turned sideways to reach the other side of the table. Javier's heart stopped. Under the suffocating orange uniform, her belly was huge, round, heavy, and low. A clearly advanced pregnancy. At least 8 months. Javier's brain made the calculation instantly. 9 months since the divorce. 8 months pregnant. No, Javier whispered hoarsely. Mr. Garza. The lawyer insisted from across the table, worried by the deathly pallor on the entrepreneur's face. Javier suddenly stood up. His heavy oak chair screeched across the marble floor, drawing curious looks from nearby tables. Javier didn't care. Not about the contract. Not about the 40 million. Not about his reputation. The noise of the luxurious restaurant, the clinking of baccarat crystal glasses, silver cutlery, and the quiet laughter of Monterrey's elite, faded into a dull hum. He saw only her. Valeria paused for a moment, dropped the cloth onto the table, and pressed a hand against her lower back, arching in silent pain. She breathed through her mouth, exhausted, as if the weight of her own body and the life inside her were about to break her spine. This was the woman who once owned half his empire. The woman who walked proudly with her head held high and a radiant smile. Now she looked like a cornered animal on the brink of collapse. Javier took a step toward her. His fists were clenched so tightly at his sides that his knuckles turned white. A toxic mixture of rage, confusion, and primal panic boiled in his veins. What the hell was happening? Where was the millionaire lover? Why was the woman who destroyed his life wiping other people's leftovers? And whose child was deforming her body and forcing her to drag her feet? Javier walked down the central aisle, passing a waiter. His serious gaze never left her. He was going to demand answers. He was going to destroy her with words if necessary. He was going to make her pay for every sleepless night. But before he could reach her, another figure stepped in front of Valeria. Armando Vargas, the general manager of Little. A 45-year-old man in an immaculate grey suit, with the arrogant expression of someone who enjoyed humiliating those beneath him. Javier stopped 3 meters away, partially hidden behind a marble column and a large floral arrangement. Close enough to hear everything, but outside Valeria's line of sight. Armando looked at the table Valeria had just cleaned. Then he ran his finger along the edge. He lifted it with disgust, as if touching something radioactive. "And you call this clean, Mendoza?" he hissed. Valeria immediately lowered her head. The sight hit Javier like a whip. The Valeria he knew never bowed her head to anyone. She had always been fierce and proud. Now her chin touched her chest in complete submission. "Sorry, Mr. Vargas," she said with a trembling voice. "It won't happen again." "I don't care about your excuses," Armando snapped. "You've been crawling around all week. If you keep moving like a turtle, you're out on the street today." "Please," Valeria begged. Her eyes filled with terror. "I need this job. My rent is due Friday, and I don't have money for the clinic. I swear I'll work faster. Please don't fire me." The sound of her pleading stabbed Javier's chest. The anger he felt toward her mutated into something darker, more dangerous. He wanted to kill Armando Vargas with his bare hands. "That belly of yours is not my problem," Armando spat, pointing at her stomach. "I don't care if you're pregnant. Nobody forced you to spread your legs. You come here to work." A silent tear rolled down Valeria's cheek. Then suddenly, a massive hand grabbed Armando by the collar from behind. He choked as he was violently pulled backward. He found himself face to face with Javier Garza. Javier's eyes were no longer the eyes of a businessman. They were the eyes of a predator seconds away from tearing apart its prey. "Do you have a problem with her, you piece of trash?" Javier growled. The room fell silent. Armando turned pale. Everyone in Monterrey knew Javier Garza, one of the most powerful real estate magnates in the city. "Mr. Garza," Armando stammered. "I was just correcting an employee." Valeria froze. The name Garza struck her like lightning. Slowly, in absolute horror, she turned her face. Her breathing stopped. Her hands instinctively clutched her swollen belly. Javier shoved Armando aside. But he was no longer looking at the man. His eyes were locked onto Valeria. The silence in the restaurant was like a grave. "Javier," Valeria whispered. Her lips trembled. She stepped back, wanting to disappear. To run. To die before he asked the question she had sworn never to answer. Javier stepped forward, crushing broken glass beneath his Italian shoes. 9 months, Valeria. His voice was low and hoarse. 9 months since you disappeared. His gaze dropped to her belly. 8 months pregnant. Valeria covered her mouth, choking back a sob. The truth had nowhere left to hide. The restaurant was frozen. The betrayed millionaire. And the ruined ex-wife. Standing face to face. And Javier asked the question that hung in the air like a death sentence. Who is the father?